You are listening to Dodging Divorce Disasters, a podcast where I interview divorce professionals that give you clear guidance, real talk, and smart strategies to help you make better decisions when it matters most. My name is Lori Hawkins. I am a divorce realtor, expert, and your host. I have the privilege of working with these professionals daily, and there is a wealth of knowledge in each episode. Let's get started. Hello, everybody. Welcome to another podcast of Dodging Divorce Disasters. I got a really good treat for you today. Allison Terrill, how are you?
I'm great. It's funny that we're smiling in a divorce. When we're talking about divorce, we're both like,
You're right.
we've made it, right? We're on the other side. Now we get to help others. So there are
That's
smiles in the
right.
future. But thank you for having me, Lori. Yes, I'm Allison Terrill. I'm so glad to be here. So thank you for having me.
Yes. Well, I am going to let you are a CDFA, which is a certified divorce financial analyst, but I'm going to go ahead and let you just tell everybody, kind of do your own little bio and tell everybody what you want to know and how, you have to be in person, all of that kind of stuff.
Okay,
All the
before
good stuff.
people, stop listening. I know CDFA is the financial part of divorce. I know that sounds like meticulous, boring, but it's actually a lot of the meat of what we have to do when, the first 4 attorneys I went to visit with when I was shopping around, they kept saying, "Well, Allison, at the end of the day, it's just a math problem." And I was like, "Well, that's very depressing." I did not feel like me and my boys, who were 9 and 11 at the time, were a math problem. But long story longer, at the end of the day, a lot of it is dividing up what you've accumulated as a married couple, whether that's your finances or your children. So I do have to correct, I am not a CDFA. I have a
Oh,
team of CDFAs because you do
oh,
not want me personally managing your money. But I built this company, Phoenix Financial Advocates, after I saw what I went through. And so I have developed an incredible team that specializes in every financial aspect, whether it's taxes, real estate, all the things. Our we are not financial planners. We are certified divorce financial analysts alone. While we can register those licenses, we choose not to because we feel like it's 2 different jobs. We're not here to manage money. We're here to do the nitty gritty of the divorce, whether it's figuring out how much support you need. What is your life cost? Can you afford the house? What about college? Can you move? Can you buy a house? All of that, we can help in those aspects. So that's a little bit about what we do at Phoenix Financial Advocates. And we also have some other options we could talk about today that we can help, which is out of court solutions. So, yeah, that's what we do at Phoenix Financial Advocates.
I know. I'm so excited because you're bringing some things to the table that I know our listeners have not heard of before. So I'm really excited to discuss that too. And I apologize because I actually thought you were a CDFA.
Most people do. Yep. But you know what? I always tell people, you don't want me managing your money. That's why I needed the team that I needed during mine. And
I
I tell
know.
everybody, with what you do as a divorce real estate expert, you need a team. You need a CDFA, you need a divorce coach, you need a CDRE, you need a CDLP. And if you have that team,
You really
it's going to
do.
be a little bit of an
I
easier
know. You
process.
really do. Yeah. No, I completely agree. And I did not have that team when I got divorced years ago. And I know money's tight, I
Right.
do know that. And I know that's a lot of the reason why people do not feel like they can go out and get this team together. Uh, Although knowing what I know now, working in the divorce niche, I understand that you save yourself a lot of money
Well, it's
when you
true.
actually do get the divorce team together.
And I think when you start the process, you start to get rushed and you think you have to go, 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 when really you can take a beat and figure out what you need. Because in the long run, you're absolutely correct. In the long run, it can save you because sometimes you get on that runaway train and you just can't get off of it when you jump into a different strategy of divorce. So yes, but a lot of what I love is that a lot of divorce professionals, are a lot of helpers and a lot of them offer free consultations. So talk to people, just be
Exactly.
open-minded, even coaches. I think that we all have to, yeah, re-educate what society tells you, which is like, get the shark, go to fight. And you know what? Let's take a beat. Let's circle the wagons and take a deep breath and let's get your mind right. And then we'll, get going, right?
Because, as far as like, I have an accounting degree, that's what my background is. And
Right.
so I thought, I don't need a CDFA, I mean, but When you are the person that's in the mix and it's your emotions that are riding right there on the surface, you need that neutral. You need somebody that is out of it that can speak truth
Yeah.
calmly.
Well, Lori, you're not in the right mind space when you're dealing with
Right.
everything you've ever known. Some in certain situations, I was operating on the defense of a divorce where I was like, "Wait a second, what?" And so
Right.
everything you've ever known is upside down, and then you're supposed to make the best decisions for your life moving forward then,
Exactly.
and you're like,
I
"Yeah,
agree.
an atomic bomb has just gone off in your house." You're exactly right. You're exactly
Yeah.
right, and
No,
you
I
need the hand
agree.
holders.
Yeah, no, I agree. Okay, before we jump into the heaviness of the divorce story, I always like to start with a fun fact. And I love number one that you are a twin. You have a twin?
I have a twin sister, she's my best friend in all the world, and my
Oh.
parents actually had 3 daughters and tried one more time for the boy, and they did not know well, after I was born, they were like, "Oh, it's another girl," and then they were like, "Whoops, there's another one." And so they
Oh,
had
they
no
didn't
idea
know.
they would had no idea they were having twins until they were my mom had already had me. So, my little twin, she came out she was 2 pounds, and she came out fighting, and I was 5 pounds. I'm surprised that I ate everything else. I'm surprised I didn't eat her, but, so she's my best friend, she's the best, and, yeah, so I love being a twin. That's one of my favorite things in the world.
Now, are you guys identical
We're
twins?
fraternal. I am 5 inches taller than she is, but, she forgave me for that, in our 20s when she actually got a job because she was 5'2". So I got cleared off the dock there.
Oh, that is so fun. And you're a mom of 3 boys, but the 3rd one was a surprise, right?
A little bit. Is a surprise in the fact that I had no idea I would have a baby at 43. So I have 2 boys that are 16 and 14 now, 2-year-old.
Oh
And
god.
when I went through my divorce, I was so heartbroken, and I didn't know what the next life, was heading my way. And my new husband, he did not have children. He said, "Can we try for a baby?" I was like, "That's adorable. It's never going to happen because I'm old." But sure enough, God had bigger plans for us. And literally, he's our little Noah. He's our rainbow after the storm. So that's why we named him that. And he is a true literal delight. He's a gift. And so it has been so much
Oh,
fun. And seeing my older sons now with him, it's been an absolute treasure. And like I
wow.
said, I had to loosen the grip on that wheel. You never know what's coming at you. We're just going to bump along. And
That's
what I've realized
amazing.
is throughout it all, I always was meant to be here. I didn't know it. I didn't want it all the time, right? But I'm so glad
I
that
think that's
I've
how
been a
most
part.
I think that's how most people feel. Not everyone, I know, but I think a lot of us that go through a divorce, it feels impossible and overwhelming at the time. But if
Yes.
you can make it through it, it takes a while. But when you get to that other side, you're just like, okay, this was where I was supposed to land. And I kind of had to go through that for whatever reason. And here I am.
Yeah,
So
and you learn
I
so
can,
much about yourself. Yeah, and things you might have forgotten that you were into. So it's a kind of like a rebirth for you as well. It's like,
right.
okay, and so that's why I call it my 2.0 life. All right.
Yeah, no, that's great. Well, I'm glad you're living your best 2.0 life.
Thank you.
Well, let me ask you, is your divorce is the reason that you got into this? Because this is not what you did beforehand.
Absolutely. But I do know during those times, like we were just talking about, and I promised God if He brought me through it, I was not going to stop helping. And there
Right.
is such a need because there's so much that you can't control, but there's so much that you can. And so I have just loved the opportunity to be able to, it really is rewarding to be able to help people with this very messy, scary, big, scary of the finances, which was my big scary. So it feels good to help people through that for sure.
Well, and I feel like people who are not number people, or maybe for the spouses that do not keep up with the bills or the income or really any of the financials within the marriage, then this is the last thing that they wanna do. Nobody wants to hit something head on for the stuff we don't understand or we don't know. That's one of the things we just keep putting back. But it's the kind of stuff that keeps us up at night.
Yep.
Whereas if we would just hit it head on and just get it done, but that is where a CDFA comes into effect,
Yeah.
right?
Thank you, Laura. Yes. And there is typically in every marriage somebody that doesn't is not we call them the financially uninvolved spouse. That was me. I passed that torch. My ex was good with numbers. He was an engineer, I was doing the room mom. I had my own business, but he did all the finances. And then yes, I was numb. I didn't want to get divorced. So not only did I not want to, I didn't know how to. I didn't know where to. And
Mhm.
all the questions the lawyers say to you are, what are your last 5 years of credit card statements? Last 5 years of money market stocks and bonds? And you're like, I don't even know where to go.
Mhm.
And so, yeah, if you do need a hand holder, and that's exactly why, we kind of keep you on track and do some of that. Cause it's very traumatic going through the numbers too, because sometimes you see the charges on credit cards you shouldn't see in Europe with someone else, And so
Yeah.
we hope to help with that part of it too. But yeah, you sometimes need some help to keep moving for the process for sure.
Okay, 2 questions before I forget them. 1,
Okay.
do you only help women or do you do women and men?
We help everyone. We can do so much with if the couple wants to come to us together, wonderful. There's a huge movement for amicable divorces. You know, Also we can work with either man or woman. We can do it before. If you're thinking about it, we can make projections. But what we want to do is what I think changes your posture in this whole conversation is we help you understand what you need to know. And then it can hopefully dial down the emotions, but then you can understand your rights. So when you have maybe an ex that's saying, you're not going to get this and you're not going to touch this, well, you can be like, that's not true. We're going to come together, we're going to divide this up. And so I feel like it just changes your posture a little bit. So, and I tell everyone, we're the unbiased. If you go through your files and you say, I noticed this and I saw this, and there usually there's a communication barrier there. But if you have somebody who's not doesn't have
You're
a
in
win.
neutral. Yeah,
Yep, with a neutral, we can say, "Hey, this is what it is. This is what we see. This is what, could help." And so hopefully, like again, our goal is to dial down that emotional trauma, dial down that financial trauma. So we can help
right.
everyone. Predominantly,
Good.
there are a lot of ladies we help just because of
Yeah,
the most
right,
likely.
right. Well, let me ask you this. At what stage of the game should they get in contact with the CDFA? I mean, is that something they should go see their attorney? And then if the attorney says they need to, how does all that work? What's the best process for somebody going through this?
Actually, we can help at any stage. So we can help before, we can help if you're stuck and you're in the midst of it and you've already spent, $30,000 and you can't find a way out. Those are my saddest. I mean, I hate when that happens, but it does.
Mhm.
But we can help after as well. We have an incredible program called Phoenix True North that helps post divorce. But the most ideal way, I wasn't lucky enough because I was kind of already behind the 8 ball when I was approached with my divorce. So but my partners will tell you their favorite, if there is such a thing, is on the beginning. Like, let's get everything
Mhm.
before you've hired anybody, before you've gone to the lawyers, find out all your options. What are the out of court options? But how beautiful would it be to have your finances already organized and you go see a lawyer and you say, hey, here's everything all organized. Now what? Because maybe then it could be quicker to settle or quicker to,
Exactly. And I mean, less expensive
yeah,
because if an attorney has to go through all of this stuff, it's going to be a lot more expensive
it is.
than hiring you guys to do it.
Yes, at their cost for sure, and, we don't charge by the phone call, text, or email. That is where the legal costs just add up,
Right.
add up, and so we can help in that way when it's just
Yeah.
a numbers thing, and lawyers are great with it. They love us because they will say self-admittedly that they don't specialize in the finances. So we're kind
Right.
of their financial teammate, and laws are always changing so much, so, yes, we love to work alongside lawyers and just help get it organized a little bit more
That's
easy.
great. Well, let's talk about dodging a divorce disaster. All of us that work in the divorce niche somehow have seen clients that have maybe not made the best decisions, that either they maybe didn't take our advice or whatever. Maybe they did something before they ever came to us. I don't know.
Right.
But we all have stories. And so the main reason that I started this podcast is for anybody listening to this to
Mm.
maybe hear something that they can think, "Oh gosh, not gonna do it that way," and perhaps dodge a divorce disaster. So what story do you have to share that, if one of your clients had maybe done something another way, they could have avoided that pitfall perhaps.
I'm going to say that I have a great example, but it ended up turning out great because they hired a CDFA when it could have been horrible.
Mm.
And this particular client, what broke my heart is that they lived next door to their parents, across the street from her sister. So they kind of had a little family compound, and she was approached with a divorce that she didn't want, two small children, and she couldn't afford to stay in the house. She couldn't
Mm,
buy out her husband. And here she, she didn't want all the things. So she's being forced to do this. And then here she's going to now have to sell her house and lose this opportunity that her children had, right? With all this family and cousins around. And I was like, that's the thing about divorce. And I know you see that with
yeah.
your job.
Mhm.
And that is heartbreaking because it just uproots so many things in
Yeah,
so many different ways. In any other world, I think if you don't have somebody who knows how to do the different numbers, you might just say roll over and say I've got to sell and and just rush to it. I guess going to a mediation or a trial without knowing your finances. Mediators say all the time, you wouldn't believe how many people come to mediation and don't know their finances. They don't know if they can keep the house, but they want the house. So how sad is that at the end of the day?
yeah, very.
Thankfully, my lead CDFA, Courtney McClellan, was able to come up with a creative settlement solution so that she could keep that house.
Oh,
And
wow.
so it involved some different things. Her dad was able to come in as a co-signer, but without that knowledge, she would have had to move. And at this day and age, the house was, she could barely buy anything new or rent anything for a lower price at this stage.
Right.
So that was a really big win when I've seen a lot of others, unfortunately, have to uproot and move because they think they don't have options.
Right.
So I kind of answered that a little flip flop, but I
No,
well,
no, that's really good, and it is just another, reason. Do you guys do free consultations? You
yes.
do? Okay.
So I have a what they'll do is the first step is to have a consultation with me, and I find out really where they are in the process, and I kind of explain on how we can help. And then the next step would be to have a strategy session with our lead CDFA, Courtney McClellan. She is meticulous. She is amazing. She used to be a stock trader on the stock market floor. She's a prima donna ballerina. She
Wow.
knows how to get something done very well. And so the next step would be to have a 1 to 2 hour strategy session with her, and that would be a paid consultation. So she would send you her link, and then during that process, you will have by the end a clear understanding of what you need to do, a game plan. And our goal is to try to set you up for success if people want to do it, try to do it by themselves. But if they need our help as well, we're there as well. And then we would come up with a proposal on if you need our help. We work by the hour. And we try to streamline costs. So we have researchers that are lower priced and we have CDFAs that are a little, they're higher priced, but just depending on the job at hand on what we do, we try to keep it in baby bites. We know that you have to go at your own pace. So we understand all of that. So that would be the next step on how that process works.
And I don't think I asked you this already, but do you guys do, I guess, Zoom? So you can help
Yes.
anybody across the United States, basically?
We can help anyone we can actually help anyone in North Carolina, North America. And we do virtual sessions. So that's the beauty of what this pandemic was able to show us is that we can do a
Yeah.
lot via computer.
True.
And so yeah, we love to answer questions and help in any way that we can.
Okay. Well, good. Well, I'm excited to kind of get into kind of a new way to think of divorce. That or is that the correct way?
Uh,
Yeah, explain it to us. Tell us your involvement and anything that you want to talk about with this.
Well, there's words out there. It's a new statement, an alternative dispute resolutions (ADR). Like there are other ways to get divorced as opposed to going through the court process. The court, you're at the mercy of lawyer schedules, judges' schedules. There are so many people. Mine took 3.5 years and way too much money, and it caused a lot of healing because of that. And so there are other ways, there's mediation and different solutions. So we actually were fortunate enough to come into contact with an incredible attorney who's barred in North Carolina and Georgia. And she had had an idea for years and years, and she could not quite bring it to fruition until she met Phoenix Financial Advocates. And she said, there it is. And she baked our system into hers, which is a 3-step out of court process that is flat fee virtual private and expedited. So the way it works is it's a combination of mediation and arbitration. And you and your soon to be ex would have to agree to this process, and you would have a consultation with Amanda, who is an attorney. All of our mediators and arbitrators are licensed attorneys in the state that you're in or retired judges. So we are operating in all 50 states. And what it looks like is step one is the organization portion. So we have CDFAs organizing the finances, and we have a parenting coordinator to help you with the custody side. To set you up for step two, which is mediation, we hopefully help you agree as far as you can, because what you don't want is somebody in a black robe at the end of the day deciding what you do with your children and finances like I did. That was very traumatic and scary. But so we help you get through mediation. And what you have the entire time is an arbitration kicker. So an arbitrator acts like a little mini judge. And if you cannot come up with a solution, then the arbitrator will then make the decision for you based on the laws of the state or the situation at hand. So because of that arbitration kicker, it kind of helps the mediation be more successful. And then it's always there. So in the arbitration level, you still feel like you have a say-so, you can speak your piece. And then if you guys cannot decide, because for me and my ex, we were not going to decide to agree. We were not. And so we would need somebody else who is not as, let's say the arbitrators are a little bit more, they love this role because it's more what they love to do, which is helping families. So the arbitrator will then make the decision, and then it's passed on and filed into the court. So this is a process that can work. We try to keep our costs as low as possible. And, our goal is to keep it beneath the cost of a typical retainer in your state. And we do have different add-ons. If you both wanted to have your own CDFA, or if you wanted to add an attorney advisor, if you wanted to kind of have a little extra guidance, you can add that. So we do have different roles. Amanda Mason is the CEO and founder, and she offers a free consultation. So I'd love to put your listeners in contact with her. It's Amanda@Solagree.com. It's called Solagree, Solagree, and it's a different way to think about divorce.
Okay, so for listeners that may not understand what arbitration means,
Yes.
can you explain that a little bit more?
I would love for Amanda to explain it the best. So if you have more questions, because I am not a lawyer, but the arbitrator, like I said earlier, it's a licensed attorney in that state who has that designation, who has subpoena powers. If somebody's not bringing their information to the table, they can kind of guide the process along, similar to like a little judge, and then they can make the award to the courts, similar to when you're
Yeah.
in
I
trial.
mean, their judgment is final. I mean,
Yes.
it's just like being in front of a judge.
Yes.
So,
And
yeah.
for somewhere like North Carolina, where you have to wait a year and a day to be separated, that sometimes just, is very difficult, right? Because you kind of want to get the process going. And so you could actually do this as well prior to the year, and it could still be filed to start the ball rolling.
Yeah. So, during the mediation period, do the two individuals are they pro se? Do neither one of them have attorneys, or do they
They
have
can.
attorneys?
They
Okay.
can. It's totally up to them. That changes the cost just based on them having to pay their lawyer on top of what we already do. So like I said, the mediators are licensed attorneys, and you can have attorney advisors that we can help, or if you want to bring in your own attorney, you can. So yes, they can, that can be a part of the process for
Okay.
sure.
Well, that is so interesting.
Yeah. What I was gonna say, what I love about our mediations is, they're actually Amanda feels very strongly that, it's via Zoom and they're both in the room. So it's just less, you can have she always says you could have your own little personal dog in your room. Mediations are intimidating. You see that a lot in moms groups. They're
Right.
like, "Well, what do I need to do? What do I wear?" And it's like, he's in one room and you're in the other room and you've got your lawyers, and it's this
Right.
kind of but when it's all together, it's a little bit more calmer, and we can kinda talk.
It's
So
almost like a modified collaborative type
collaborative is a
setting.
great idea. It's a great idea. However, you can still run the risk of going to court.
Right.
And
Right.
Solagree is the one true only way to guarantee you will never go to court.
Right.
It's the only way because of that, you sign an agreement at the beginning to
Right.
solve the dissolution of your marriage this way. Collaborative, you can go along that way, but if at one point somebody pulls out, then
You
you
have
have to
to
get
change the
lawyers,
timing.
everyone's in conflict, and then so I've hated to see some couples that go through that because then they have to start all over and they, just real
So
tough.
it's almost like a one-stop shopping for divorce, really. I mean,
Yes,
it's
and
like from start to end, you can stay with
yes,
Solagree.
and we kinda guide you along, but here's what I think what's most important is the costs are predictable because that's the scariest part. Cost is predictable, but it's also a little bit more time predictable. And I think the longer you have to go through this, the more you find to fight about, the more things that get involved. There's more that voices that get involved. So if you can keep the cost predictable and the time predictable, it's going to change the game for divorce and the way
Yeah.
people divorce in America for sure.
Well, and I think that's just from doing these podcasts and hearing, because there are some attorneys that are very pro arbitration
Yes.
because you can get it done quicker. Plus, a lot of times, if they get to pick the arbitrator, it's somebody they know understands a child custody suit or something, instead of being put in front of a judge that may not have children at all and,
Right. Or
trying
family law
to.
experience. Hmm.
Right, exactly.
Yes.
So, no, this is so interesting. Yeah,
Thank
I haven't heard about this all the way through, so this is really cool.
Well, and arbitration is a lot of we were the head sponsors at the AAML, and that is, the American Association of Matrimonial Lawyers, and they're really moving forward with arbitration because it's one of those little things that's not utilized enough, and
Right.
Amanda Mason has been really championing it, and, I think it's gonna be, the best way to move forward because there has to be a better way, and no one's criminals here. No one needs to be on the stand, no one needs to go to and it's just if we can get through this for the kids, for everybody at hand just a little bit more easily,
Mhm.
then it would change a lot of things, I think.
That is so cool. I love this idea.
Thank
And it's really very smart, and it's actually very simple. I mean, it's a wonder it's taken somebody this long to kinda push this through. And so
Well,
I'm glad
it's
Amanda has
cool.
found you guys. If y'all were the missing link, I'm glad
Well,
she
it's funny,
found you guys.
we joke around, my partners at Phoenix and I, because it seems so straightforward, and we're like, because 'cause we're not attorneys, and we're like, "This is of course people should do this," and it's funny that no one has thought of it before, and the way Amanda developed it's amazing. So
Yeah.
I do encourage it's worth a conversation for sure.
Well, that is great. Well, let me ask you, I will be putting your contact information at the end, but if anybody's just listening to this, now, what's the best way for them to get in contact with you?
They can absolutely go to either website, which is www.phoenixfa.com or www.solagree.com. Phoenix was for the rising of the ashes. That was the mythical bird. And you could always find me on Facebook. I'm Allison Terrill. But one of my favorite things is our divorce encouragement group on Facebook. It's called Dealing with Divorce, an encouragement group for women. So they can find us there too. I needed somebody to tell me I was going to make it. So I started that group actually before I started my company. So it's about 3,000 women strong, and it's just a little dose of you can do this. And it's been a a very loving community. So they can find me there. And I'm Allison at Phoenix.com, PhoenixFA.com, pardon me, or Allison at Solagree.com. So I'm here and I would love to help.
Now, spell your first and last name, just in case somebody's listening so they know.
It's Allison, and that's Terrill. But it's simple enough with just Allison in front of our Phoenix FA or Solagree.
That is fantastic. Is
Yeah.
there anything we didn't cover that you wanted to cover? Because I know we had a lot of information. Is there
Oh,
anything else you want to say?
we covered a lot. So everybody, thank you for listening. But I think the biggest thing I want to cover is that you guys are going to make it. You're going to get through this, and you're going to be able to help people afterwards. Because once you walk through fire, you'll never stop helping people. And I just want to hug you under the arms and just know you're going to get through this. So I really want to just tell them
That's sweet, but
that.
you're right, you're right. It does change you, and it's really up to you whether you let it change you for the best or for the worse, so I agree with you totally. I
Oh,
cannot thank you enough for taking time out of your busy schedule to come on here and do this. Thank you so, so much. I really appreciate it.
I'm honored. Lori, thank you for all you do for everyone. And I really appreciate you being so abundant. So thank you for having me.
All right, we'll talk soon.
Okay. Bye,
Bye.
Lori.
This podcast is for informational and entertainment purposes only. The information contained herein is not legal advice. If you need legal advice, please seek an attorney.